hello and welcome to another episode of Movie Bollocks. It's been a little while, hasn't it? So, of course, I'm your host of the Talking Bollocks podcast, Howard H. Smith, also lead singer of Acid Rain, also do stand-up comedy, yada yada yada, not doing any of that at the moment, for the same reason that you're probably not doing what you're normally doing. That's right, and hello person in the future, this is 2021, and we are still suffering from COVID-19. So, hello, welcome everybody, welcome back, welcome if it's your first time. This is Movie Bollocks, and what this episode consists of is it's a bit of a lockdown special. The idea is that I'm just going to take you through a load of stuff I've watched, tell you what it's about, give you my opinion. Some of it you'll have seen, some of it you won't. You might want to check some of it out. You might want to argue with me, which is absolutely fine. Come at me on social media at Talking Bollocks with a Z on the end, not an S. And same for Facebook and same for Instagram. Now, please do get in touch, get onto social media. Please give me a follow on those platforms. The more followers that I get, believe it or not, you know, PR companies do look at social media of podcasts to see if it's worth their client being on it. So the more follows and likes and everything else makes a big difference. If you can help me out there, really appreciate it. Okay, and if you happen to just be passing by the Apple podcasts, you know, if you want to stick a review in there as well, as long as it's a good one. Fuck off with your bad ones, then please do. Anyway, that's all of the usual out the way. You can also get more stuff on Patreon. I'm on Patreon, patreon.com/Howard H. Smith. There'll be a link in the podcast description that you can tap where it says support this podcast. Come and join the fun there as well for just $5 a month. It's pretty awesome, even if I do say so that myself. And I will also put a list of movies that I'm reviewing up as well. I'll list everyone that I mention here, just in case. I know what it's like listening to a podcast and you don't, it's like, oh, what was that movie again? But you don't want to pause it and you rewind it but you can't find it. Anyway, that's why. So, anyway, without further ado, let's get stuck in. Now, there's all sorts of stuff here. There's really old movies, there is TV series, there's all sorts, okay? So let's start with a classic. That's right. At the moment, I've got a friend staying with me, and their cinema background is pretty shocking. So we watched Terminator 2 Judgement Day together. Yep, I haven't watched that for a while, and what struck me was A, what an awesome movie it still is, and B, I don't remember the T-1000, Robert Patrick. I thought he was like in the movie a hell of a lot, but watching it again, there is a massive, there's big chunks where he's not in it. And there is actually a big chunk when they track down Miles Dyson and tell him all about check that out, by the way. I didn't call him Miles Davis, which is what I would normally do. And they track him down and tell him all about the future and everything else. And then they go off to Mexico. And there's this massive chunk where there is just no, T-1000 at all. Anyway, look, let's not spend too much time here. It's still awesome. That's all you need to know. If you haven't seen it, then, what the hell do you think you're doing? Check it out. Where's it available? Everywhere. Next up, Wheelman. Now, Wheelman it stars Frank Grillo as a guy who is basically a wheelman. I guess I'm guessing that you know what that is. So he drives away from, he waits outside. He's a getaway driver. There you go, Howard. Well done. It's a short movie. It's only about 82 minutes. It's on Netflix, and I really enjoyed it. There's some really cool comedy in it. The two lead actors buddy up really well together. And it's enjoyable. 82 minutes. It's not really going to, fill up a whole afternoon or anything like that, but really enjoyable. And I've said that enough times, haven't I? And just, some really nice touches and lots of action as well, and twists in plot, and definitely worth checking out. And on the heels of that, I watched it ages ago, and what I've watched twice since is a movie called Boss Level, again starring Frank Grillo. Boss Level also has Mel Gibson in it, and just his first mention on the list, for he will be mentioned again. It's what can I say? I had one combination that I love is action and comedy, but what I mean is I don't mean I don't mean action comedy as in punching. So I don't mean action comedy as in Bad Boys. I mean action that is actually quite comical. And there is one scene in Boss Level that had me absolutely crying with laughter, and I really want to tell you about it. In fact, I'm going to. Okay, I'm not going to give anything away about the plot or anything like that, other than it's got a touch of Groundhog Day to it. It's got a touch of Terminator 2 to it. It's got a touch of all sorts of movies to it. And there is one bit in it where one character is recalling a time he died. Okay, yeah, Groundhog Day, etc. A time he died, and there's a flashback to it, and it's a truck driving past, and the truck goes and then and fires 2 shots into him and kills him. And that, I mean, I realise I've just ruined that moment, and it's also not funny listening to me doing that, but honestly, it had me in fucking stitches. It's just so well done, and there's loads of gags in it. There's loads of action in it. There's a really, really good plot device in it. It involves everything. It really does. Relationships, loads of brilliant action, lots of comedy. And again, Mel Gibson as the baddie is excellent in it, and there's just loads of great one-liners. It's really worth checking out. I want to cry. It is really cool. I'm raving here about Boss Level, and that's because I've seen it twice, and both times really, really enjoyed it. Got more out of it the second time, which you should. Watching a film the second time, you should get more out of it. And I can solidly recommend that wherever you can find it. I watched it on a stream, and wherever you get your streams, definitely worth checking out Boss Level. So next up is another one that my lodger, flatmate, friend hadn't seen, and that's Inception. That's right, a decade old Inception now. And watching it again made me fall in love with it all over again. What a movie. What a movie. Just the right side of stupid, because it really does teeter for a little while. I mean, when you've got a character saying something like, whose subconscious are we in now? I mean, that line is almost in there for the viewer to go, oh, right, great, so it's not just me who's confused then. But, it's great. The characters are great. The story is great. The ending is brilliant. The effects are incredible, but the whole concept is so original. It's so well done. If you haven't seen Inception, if there's any reason, whatever, that you haven't seen Inception, put that reason aside and check it out, because it really is a work of genius. And, that's Stephen Nolan for you. But having said that, we now move on to Tenet, Stephen Nolan's latest movie and the one big marquee movie of 2020. And everything I just said about Inception doesn't apply to Tenet. Great characters? No. Frankly, no characters. Didn't give a shit about any of them. They could have all lived for a lifetime or died in the next scene. Really not bothered. At times, the soundtrack... not the soundtrack, the audio is deliberately quiet. Lines people deliver are deliberately blurred or slurred or quieter. And when you start doing things like that, when you're deliberately trying to confuse and mislead an audience, I just think you've kind of disappeared up your own arse, really. There's some great effects. The concept, what I can make of it is pretty cool. But Nolan's films, well, any movie, and I'll argue till I'm blue in the face on this, any movie completely depends on characters. Now, I know there'll be some of you who'll be going, no, action, no, story. My point is, it doesn't matter what happens, action. It doesn't matter where they go, story, if you don't care who it's happening to or who's going. It's as simple as that. Think of every movie that you really love. You follow those characters. You're in those characters' shoes, or you're watching those characters. It's absolutely key. And that, for me, is just a very simple building block that Tenet falls down on, which is you don't spend any real time with the characters. You don't get to know them in any way. There's unbelievable relationships. There's Kenneth Branagh trying to be a scary Russian oligarch terrorist murderer, and I've had scarier meals, to be honest. It's just, yeah, I was really disappointed. I did watch it to the end, but funnily enough, I was talking to Paul about this, Acid Rain guitarist, as most of you know, is a huge film buff and also a filmmaker himself and writer. And he said, after 45 minutes, he realised he didn't give a shit what happened to anybody in the film. And right there, I totally agree. That is the issue. I watched the whole movie, but I got to be honest, it felt like a fucking exam. It felt like a test. It felt like I was being tested. Yeah, like, how long can you really sit here and put up with this? And the really, really sad thing is that at the heart of Tenet is a brilliant idea that is deliberately not explained, to the extent that I'm not interested enough to ever go back and try and figure it out. And not only that, but when that is your takeaway from a movie, it's pretty fucking poor, isn't it? Really. So a bit sad about that. But anyway, moving on. Warriors. That's right. I had not, I've taken the piss out of my mate for not seeing the other films. I'd never seen Warriors. Okay, I'd never seen it, and so it was recommended to me. I thought, do you know what? I need to see that. Watched it. Fucking hell, that movie has not aged well. For all of you listening to this who've seen Warriors, I'm sorry. I know that you have a lot of love for it, but really, if you see it for the first time in 2020, as I did, it is absolutely shocking. I mean, at no point is there any jeopardy. Plenty of times, people are going, "Hey, what's the problem?" And they run over and all line up beautifully in sync so they can appear in one shot, and they're all shoulder to shoulder. It's an absolute festival of homoerotica as well, with lots of tight shorts and bare chests. And to be honest, I actually found it quite comical. I laughed more than anything, and that's what kept me engaged. So I'm sorry if you're listening to this and it's like it's one of your favourite movies and your heart... Well, not that you give a shit about what I think anyway, and quite rightly. Fuck me, what do I know? You saw it when you were a teenager and you love it, brilliant. But if you see it for the first time in like 2020, 2019, 2020, then yeah, it's pretty fucking awful. Anyway, I then watched Gremlins. Now here comes a shout out to Paul Podcast. He of the Different Times podcast, otherwise known as Paul Waller, singer of OMS, who has a brilliant horror podcast out called A Year in Horror. And I say brilliant, I do guest on it. And the reason I guest on it is that I watched Gremlins specifically for the podcast. So do try and find the podcast. It's called A Year in Horror, and subscribe and tell him I sent you. And I watched Gremlins for that. That was my homework, and hadn't seen it for years. I mean, like, some movies, stand the test of time better than others, just as sort of Warriors. I loved Gremlins when it came out, but I was a young teenager. Now I look at it and I think, yeah, it's not bad. It still holds up. I mean, there is some hilarious racial profiling going on in it, and a quite shocking attempt at trying to hint at mental health, with a particular line where two characters are walking along, one says to the other, "Oh, I love Christmas, it's great." And the girl goes, "Well, some people don't really enjoy Christmas, it's a hard time." And And the guy goes, nah, everyone's loved Christmas. It's a great time of year. She said, it isn't. When some people are opening up presents, other people are opening up their veins. What the fucking hell is that about? That really, it was, talk about clunky dialogue. How do we get mental health in? How about, talking about opening veins? It seems really inappropriate and just jumps out. When the Gremlins, when you finally see a full-on gremlin face to face, as in the nasty dude, and his name escapes me at the moment. It's about an hour in a 90-minute movie, which is impressive. The fact that they managed to get away with that, but ultimately, when it kind of descends into just comic effects, really, and comedy, and that's all very well, but whatever. I've spent enough time on Gremlins on here, frankly. So let's move on. Next up. The Cohen brothers remake of True Grit, the John Wayne Western, is absolutely brilliant, and I can't recommend it highly enough. And it was nominated for 10 Oscars. Jeff Bridges as the lead character is absolutely awesome as usual. There are other stunning performances contained within it as well. Matt Damon is very good. Matt Damon! He's excellent in it, and honestly, it really is. Oh, who else turns up? Someone else turns up as well. I'll try and remember his name before the end of the podcast because it will annoy me. Josh Brolin. Boom. Thank you, brain. You're doing good stuff today. No worries, Howard. Carry on. So, True Grit, the remake, the Coen Brothers version, a great Western, brilliant performances. Seriously, even if you're not a fan of Westerns, just watch it anyway, because it's not really about it's not a Western movie as such. Anyway, after that, I decided to finally get around to 47 Ronin, the Keanu Reeves Japanese movie, which is based on the legend of the 47 Ronin, and I really, really enjoyed it. Keanu Reeves is quoted as saying after making the third Matrix movie that he's realised what he was put on the planet to do, and it's not acting, it's martial arts. And in this movie, and so basically, if you can get Keanu Reeves doing martial arts in a movie, that's ideal. Hence the John Wick movies, because his martial arts are better than his acting. 47 Ronin is a great movie. Lots of full-on incredible action. It's really well done. You can tell that it's a Japanese production, and it's a real feather in his cap that he actually, that the Japanese film industry embraced him and made this. By the way, I might have got my facts slightly wrong on that, so please don't be shouting at saying it's not a Japanese movie, it's a Hollywood movie. Well, do you know what? Whatever. It's a famous Japanese legend, and he is the main character and retelling it, and it's excellent. It really is. And it's quite long. It's just over 2 hours, I think, but really, really worth the journey. Again, depending where you are and what you're doing in these current corona times, if you've got time on your hands, definitely worth checking out. Next up, a movie called Patch of Fog. And you know what? I cannot remember anything about this movie, which is not great. It's not a ringing endorsement, is it? So hang on. I'm just going to go into IMDb on my phone and just see if it gives me any kind of clues. Oh, right, yeah, that's it. It's from 2015. Oh, yeah, it's from 2015. And it stars Stephen Graham, who is excellent, brilliant actor. And yeah, I remember this. No, it's quite an interesting story. It's a UK film, and it's what's the premise? Here we go. A security guard catches a famous writer / television host shoplifting and blackmails him into becoming friends. And I enjoyed it. It passed the time. It's not going to blow me away. I'm never going to go back to it, but it's certainly worth a watch if you happen to be scrolling past it on one or other platform. Next up, a movie that I hadn't got round to before, but okay, lockdown, fuck it, I'll watch anything. And that's Book of Eli, starring the wonderful, oh fucking hell, come on, Denzel Washington, brilliant. And I really enjoyed it. There's all sorts of action. Denzel is absolutely bastard hard in it, which, you know, I think he's awesome when he's playing a hard man. And it really enjoyable. It's set in a dystopian future, yet before nearly every other film was set in a dystopian future. And it has some really interesting themes running through it. And Gary Oldman is absolutely overacting his tits off in it, which I always enjoy. I mean, I personally think he's always overacting his tits off, but I really do recommend it. I enjoyed it, as you can tell, because I keep saying that. And I'm just trying to work, right, is it Gary Oldman? Yeah, it is. Brilliant. Okay. And yeah, definitely worth checking out if you haven't already. And keeping the Denzel theme going, this goes back a long time. It features Denzel, it features John Goodman, and it's a movie called Fallen. Now, this is on Amazon Prime, if you can, at the moment. I think that's the only streaming platform it's on, unless you've got access to other places to stream stuff. It's excellent. It's a supernatural thriller. It's more, you can watch it way more than once. I mean, I've watched it 5 or 6 times over the years, and every time I watch it, it reminds me how much I enjoy it. I really, 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 really recommend this to you, because it's a movie that seems to have gone, it never got the credit it was due, and it's the kind of film that you watch from a time period and you go, oh, doesn't Denzel look young? Oh, doesn't John Goodman look thin before he got fat and then thin again? Oh, isn't that dated? Oh, they haven't got any mobile phones. But do you know what? You soon forget about all that shit. It just draws you in, and it is a truly wonderful supernatural thriller. That's Fallen. Next up is another movie that I have forgotten about. So, and again, that's not a brilliant recommendation, is it? Right, let's have a look. It is right. The movie I watched was Rogue City. Ah, right, yes, Rogue City. Oh, that's right. This is French. Bloody hell, yeah, it's French, and it's on Netflix. It's called Rogue City, and I watched it, and it's a bit like a French Sweeney. The cops are basically criminals. The criminals are even more criminally than the criminal cops. There's a conspiracy. There's lots of stuff you haven't seen before. It's glossy. It's French. It might make you feel a little bit better about yourself, a little bit more culturally expansive. That you've what? It's all right. It's okay. But the fact I couldn't even remember what it was and that it was a French movie pretty much tells you all you need to know. Okay, into some TV series now. In fact, you know what? I'm going to leave the TV series to the end because I just feel like it, you know, and I can do what I like. My podcast. Fuck off. So, next up is an absolutely insane movie. It's called Color Out of Space. Color is spelt the American way, COLOR. Color Out of Space. It is on Amazon Prime, and it stars Nicolas Cage. And straight away there'll be some of you that'll go, right, my ears have just switched off. It's Nick Cage. I can't, you know, I don't care. Well, look, in case you've ever wondered why Nick Cage is doing so many movies, here's why, and I'm sorry if you've heard this before. In 2008, he lost a shitload of money in the financial collapse, ended up owning a load of taxes, and basically ever since he's been paying it off. And he says that's why he works so hard, and 1 out of every 4 movies he does for himself. He does 3 for the tax man and 1 for himself. And I think it's pretty cool that he's open about that and you know, and has said that. And clearly this is one that was for himself. It's insane. It is it's an original story by, oh fucking hell, why am I having a bloody brain fart now? This is really going to annoy me. Hang on a sec, I'm just going to have to check this out. H.P. Lovecraft. Can't believe I had a brain fart on that. It's an original H.P. Lovecraft story. It's weird as fuck, to be honest. But the movie it reminded me of in a few places is The Mist. Now, if you enjoyed The Mist, which is one of my all-time favourite films and probably my favourite ever horror film, and if you haven't seen that, for fuck's sake, you need to watch that now. Stop listening to the podcast, go and watch The Mist, and then come back. So, anyway, for those of you who are coming back to the podcast having watched The Mist, how awesome was that? Anyway, Colour Out Space. Something happens in it which is absolutely horrific, and it's not one of those things where you think, oh, that's awful, and oh god, that's terrible, oh, that's bad. That thing that happens continues for about another 20 minutes, and you keep going back to it, and it is horrific. It really is. So I'm sorry, I don't want to give too much away, but all I can say is it is really, really worth checking out for me. Colour Out Space. If you're in the mood for something that is supernatural, super fucked up, super what the fuck is going to happen next, super what the fuck is going on, but not from a I'm confused point of view, but from a I want to know more. I want to know what happens next. Seriously, it is. All of these things are worth a watch, unless I say it's shit, obviously. But yeah, so give it a shout. Seriously, give it a shout, and don't bother with it's only got 3 out of 5. Yeah, well, 3 out of 5 people are dickheads. So there you go. That explains that. Right, next up. Another movie starring a man that is probably either going to put you off or you're going to go, I'm in. And the star of this movie is Gerard Butler, or as it should be pronounced, Gerard Butler! So anyway, yeah. This is Scotland! This is Sparta. Gerard Butler is basically a designer of do you know what, I'm not going to go into the granular shit, but what I will say is that this movie is called Greenland. Now, Greenland, it's Gerard Butler and also Morena Baccarin, who used to be in I first saw her in Firefly, the cancelled Joss Whedon sci-fi TV series. She was also in she was also in Homeland for a while. Great actor, and her and Gerard Butler do a great job. Basically, it's a disaster movie. Some meteors are heading for Earth. What's going to happen? The way, honestly, the scale of it, the way it's done, the things that happen, it is a great disaster movie. It is a great 2-hour romp through all of the worst shit that can happen fucking happening, and what would happen. It's very well played out. It is very not to say very realistic. It's potentially believable. There you go. How's that? And again, I recommend it. It's not going to live with you forever, but it may well be something that you go back to more than once, purely for the scale of it, and just to remember how crazy it is and what everybody ends up doing. So yeah, that movie again, Greenland, worth checking out if you ask me. Next up, I've got to stop saying that, haven't I? Now, next up is a movie called Baby Teeth. This is an Australian movie, and it stars, the star of the show is a young female actor who is going to go on and also star in one of the TV shows that I'm going to mention later on. That's fascinating, isn't it? What's she called, Howard? I can't bloody remember. And, I know what you're thinking. Fucking hell, didn't you think of doing any research before this? Well, you clearly don't know me that well, do you? Look, Baby Teeth, the movie, is absolutely superb. And I'll read you the premise. Miller, a seriously ill teenager, falls in love with a drug dealer, Moses, her parents' worst nightmare. Now, if you're listening to that and thinking, yeah, that's not for me. No, that's not my kind of thing. Yeah, I'll give that a miss. No, don't do that. Do not do that. This movie it will do everything. You will laugh, you will cry, and you will also, there is a scene in it where you will almost have to look away. probably one of the most brutal and graphic scenes I have seen in a movie for a very, very long time. But bear in mind, that sits in a movie that is bookended with laughs, with emotion, brilliant characters, all sorts of stuff going on. Honestly, I'm going to say it again, I can't recommend it highly enough. I hate myself for doing this. Baby Teeth. Seriously, check it out. Just an absolute high watermark for Australian cinema. And it's just utterly, utterly brilliant. It stars Eliza Scanlon, who we're later going to go on and see another TV series. Ben Mendelsohn is in it, who you may know from other stuff. Seriously, no matter what you may think to the topic that I've mentioned, and it might not be for you and all the rest of it, please do give it a go, because you really shouldn't regret it. It's the exact opposite of the movie I was talking about, Tenet, earlier. It is all about the characters. There's 4 main characters, and you desperately care about them, about what happens. It really, I can't, just watch it, okay? Baby Teeth. And I can't remember where I saw it. Oh, Netflix. It's on Netflix, so you've got no excuse. But surely most people have Netflix these days. No, they don't. That's a really fucking stupid assumption, Howard. Like most assumptions. Yeah, you're right. Okay, I'm sorry. That's okay. I'll let it slide this time. But one more like that and you're not coming on this podcast again. But it's my podcast. Fuck you. Okay, fair enough. So, next up, we've got Fatman. That's right, not Batman, Fatman. It is, quite simply put, the single best, most fucked up Christmas movie I have ever fucking seen. Watch it. Just watch it. Fatman himself is Mel Gibson. And I'm not going to tell you what the story is, because that would be to give away a little bit too much. But it is, it's a Christmas movie. That doesn't mean you have to watch it at Christmas. It also stars Walton Goggins. I mean, how fucking awesome is Walton Goggins? So it's worth watching just for him. And Marianne Jean-Baptiste, who's an English actress, so it's definitely worth... she's brilliant as well. Everyone's great in it, but seriously, Fatman, action, comedy, drama. It's the concept of the entire movie is pretty fucked up. In fact, you know what? Again, I'm going to give you the log line, and you go from here. A rowdy... Oh, no, here we go. Billy, a neglected, precocious 12-year-old, hires a hitman to kill Santa. And that is all you need to know. If that isn't fucked up enough for you, then, come on. And seriously, even if you don't like fucked up films, it's not weird. It's not weird, don't get me wrong. You're not going to be like sat there at any point going, what's going on? You'll just enjoy it. And it contains a brilliant scene in a pet shop where this woman is desperately trying to guess Walton Goggins' perfect pet, and he keeps telling her not to. And eventually he says, do you know what? You remind me of my mother. And she says, oh, really? Yeah. She was a terrible listener and didn't know when to shut the fuck up. Honestly, Walton Goggins delivering that dialogue is just fucking awesome. So, check it out. Now, here's a rare thing on and that movie, Fatman, again. Now, this one, a good few years old. Don't know how it had passed me by before. This is a comedy. It's called Bad Words. It's written by and starring... I'm fucking had a brain fart on his name. Seriously, my brain is just falling apart. This is a real challenge for me doing this, well, I know what you're thinking. It wouldn't be a challenge if you'd had some fucking notes, would it, Howard? Fair enough. That is I pretty much can't argue with that point. But I am definitely going to figure this out. Come on. Jason Bateman. Written and starring Jason Bateman. Bad Words. It's again, great characters, great dialogue. I mean, Jason Bateman does comedy brilliantly. He's a brilliant comic actor, and it's brilliantly written. It's brilliantly acted. It is funny all the way through. Unlike a lot of comedy movies, which will you spend at least 20-25 minutes stopping being funny so it can develop some fucking useless romantic plot or basically further the story. This, of course, never does that because it's written by somebody who understands comedy, who understands performing comedy. It comes in at 1 hour 29 minutes, the fucking perfect length for a film. Well, so yeah, you want to laugh? Check out Bad Words. Okay. I haven't really told you what that's about. Okay, it's about an adult who finds a gap in the rules and decides to enter the US National Spelling Bee. Do with that what you will. What a great premise. So, next up, we have, on Netflix, Ghosts of War. Bad Words, I think you can get that on Amazon Prime. Ghosts of War on Netflix, which, again, I wasn't expecting much. And if you read the premise, it's not great. Soldiers in World War II looking after a chateau, supernatural experiences happen. That, it really undersells it because, believe you and me, it constantly keeps you on your toes. You're never sure where it's going, and then at the end you'll want to watch it again because it will fucking properly screw with your brain. And well, Billy Zane is in it. There you go. Now, those of you who know Billy Zane know exactly what I mean. That's where you need to set the bar of your expectations. You need to set them at Billy Zane level. Okay, go and Google his face, and you'll go, "Oh, that guy. Oh, is he still around?" Ghosts of War. Really enjoyed it, way more than I should have done, and I may even go back to it and watch it again. It is essentially a ghost story, if you like, but there is so much more to it. So, please do check it out if you get the chance. It's on Netflix, really easy to get hold of, so give it a whirl. Hey, go on. Anyway, next up is the final movie that I'm going to review of this viewing period. And it is, then I'm going to go on the TV programmes, don't worry. It is Shadow in the Cloud. Now, this stars Chloe Moretz, she of Kick-Ass fame and Brain on Fire and all sorts of other movies. Without doubt, one of my favourite female actresses. I've got that totally wrong, haven't I? Female actors. And she's great in it. And it's a weird one, right? Because it grabs you. The first half an hour is really, really gripping. And it's nearly all totally just Chloe Grace Moretz. And she holds your attention brilliantly. She's stowed away. Well, she's not stowed. She's stuffed away in the undercarriage of a Second World War bomber. And I don't want to go into too much, but basically, that first half hour is really gripping and really keeps you engaged. And then it all goes a bit crazy. It goes a bit mad. And there's a couple of things that happen that might make you just laugh out loud and go, okay, I've kind of changed my attitude towards this, but I'm going to keep watching. And because it's built up so much good faith with you in the first half hour, there's every chance that that you will stick with it. I really enjoyed it. Actually, did I enjoyed it. I'm not going to go back and watch it again, and I always think that's the test. Yeah, if it is fucking really good, you're going to watch it again. And if I go through that list of movies that I've told you about, movies I'd watch again: Wheelman, Boss Level, already watched it twice. Obviously, Inception. True Grit, watched loads over the years. I'd watch 47 Ronin again. I'd watch Fallen for about the 10th time. I'd watch Colour Out of Space. I've watched that twice. Greenland, I might go back to that. Baby Teeth, definitely. Fatman, definitely. Bad Words, definitely. Ghosts of War, probably. Shadow in the Cloud, probably not. But it is worth a watch. It is worth 82 minutes of your time. It's not a long time, is it? So, I'd check it out. I really would. It's a very, very interesting take on... It's almost like a cross between a Second World War movie and the Twilight Zone. So there you go. hopefully that gives you enough to go on. And what a beautiful, smooth link into the TV programmes. And the first TV programmes I'm going to mention is The Twilight Zone. There are now 2 series of The Twilight Zone. They are brand new series. They are on Sky. It's been reimagined by Jordan Peele, who is excellent as the narrator. Seriously, there's 20 episodes available, and I reckon there's probably maybe 2 or 3 duff ones in that 20. Incredibly high standard of TV show, as we kind of become to expect from television now. But The Twilight Zone remade 2 series. It's available on Sky or another streaming service if you want to have a look around. And I can't recommend it highly enough, because you can sit and literally chomp through them one after another. Like it's Christmas again, and you're sat just eating chocolates one after another. You're on automatic pilot. You can do that with The Twilight Zone, because obviously they're all so different, such unique tastes. They've all got, varying degrees of twist. Really, really enjoy it. The Twilight Zone. Next up, now these are TV series that you're probably familiar with. The next 2. Next up, The Queen's Gambit. Come on Netflix. The Queen's Gambit. It's about a young girl who's really good at chess, and you're thinking, well, Howard, that really has put me off. You really haven't sold it there. I realise that. But again, it is about character. It's a beautiful period piece. And all I can say is, I defy anybody to not watch the first episode and think, do you know what? I'm going to watch episode 2. And before you know it, you're deep into it and you're loving it. There's a charm to it. There is a grace to it, a humour, but also because it's about chess, and obviously each chess match is a competition, and you're rooting for the young girl. You really do sort of. You're just rooting for it. It draws you in, and this is what I was talking about earlier about character. It's like you wouldn't give a shit about any of these chess matches if you didn't give a shit about the character, but you do, and you want to win, so you're in there with her. It is just a great TV series, give you hours of pleasure. The Queen's Gambit is on Netflix. Also on Netflix, and 10 episodes, but only 22 minutes an episode, so you can smash through this whole series, as a friend of mine did, in a day. I'm not okay with this. That's the name of the program. Okay, that's not just me saying I'm not okay with it. And this is the TV program that I kind of mentioned earlier. That was the Australian movie, the star of the Australian movie, Baby Teeth. Well, she is also in this, and I really enjoyed it. I certainly didn't smash through it in 10 days, but the lead female actor, Eliza Scanlon, again, is superb in this, and I just really enjoyed it. It's not what you think, okay? It's not what you think. It's called I'm Not Okay With This. It could be called, It's Not What You Think. The whole series is leading to somewhere, to something, and it's slowly revealed as the series goes on, which climaxes in the final episode, and obviously that's meant to keep you hanging on for series 2. It really was enjoyable, very good. It is somewhat otherworldly, but only slightly. It's no Stranger Things. But again, the characters are great. And if you're look, I'm a 50-year-old man, and the central character is a female teenager at school, okay, in America. And it's as far away from culturally relevant to me as it could possibly be. But good drama, good writing, good acting, good characters draws you in. And hopefully it will draw you in as well. So, what's on now? Right, the other thing. Now, I actually tracked this down and watched it on the streaming services, and then all of a sudden it appeared on Sky. And I was like, oh, fuck. So, the next TV series I'm going to mention is Trickster. It comes out of Canada. You can get it in on your Sky channels at the moment. Well, I can in my package. I don't know if you'll have it in yours, obviously, because I don't know what package you've got. But you'll find it on streaming services as well. Trickster, Canadian kind of supernatural coming of age story. It's dark. It is a dark motherfucker. There's not been much swearing, has it? I've been good, cunt. And Trickster. Seriously, there's a whole kind of mythology to this that I'd never heard before, and especially coming out of Canada. I think these are traditional native Canadian stories, and it had me absolutely drawn in. And I think first series is only about 6 or 8 episodes, and each episode is about 40 minutes. Definitely worth watching if you like real sort of kind of dark, mysterious, supernatural. It's all mixed in together. But even if you're not that into supernatural, it's played so straight that you may well actually be able to jive with it. So jive with it, fucking hell. What am I talking about? And finally, next up, TV series. I think this is on Amazon Prime. It might be. No, it's on Netflix, and it's called The Innocents. And again, there is a supernatural element to it. I'm really surprised going over these how many of them have got a supernatural element to them. It's not necessarily, my favourite genre or anything like that. But The Innocents is set in England, but it's also set in Norway. Guy Pearce is in it. For those of you that know Guy Pearce, brilliant Australian actor. And it starts out, the very first scene will have you going, what the fuck? What the fucking fuck? It will do your head in. And then things go back to the beginning, and it unravels quite quickly, the story, and it will draw you in. Or it won't. I recommended it to somebody and they stopped watching after 4 episodes and said I found it depressing, which is really weird because I don't know why you would find it in any way depressing. But hey, can't take a journey into another person's head and root around and find out why and what happened, can you? So there you go. That is, and now the other things to do at the moment. I've just started Cobra Kai season 3, which is the story of the Karate Kid 25-30 years on, what they're doing, all the characters. Can't recommend it highly enough. Season 1, absolutely brilliant. Season 2 drops off, not as good. Season 3 has started very strongly. I'm 3 episodes in, and Dee Schneider is going to make an appearance in it at some point as well. So hey, what's not to love? And for you rock and rollers out there, it's a brilliant 80s hair metal soundtrack to all 3 series. And so you will hear songs there that you haven't. I mean, how often are you going to hear Motley Crue Looks That Kill on a soundtrack these days, hey? Now, I'm no Motley Crue fan, but there is something really cool about hearing that again and going, oh man, yeah, I remember that. So yeah, do that. What else have I done? I've rewatched. It's taken me quite a while, but I am now about 5 episodes from the end of Sons of Anarchy. I have rewatched all 7 seasons of Sons of Anarchy. And if you've got Netflix and you've never watched it, you really do need to. It's Sopranos on motorbikes. I mean, some of it is, and this is really bugging me, so I'm going to get this out there, right? Some of it is so graphic, it is unbelievable. Some of it is so graphic, you're wincing and going, God, they wouldn't be able to make this now, despite the fact, obviously, clearly you're watching it on a TV now. But quite hilariously, because it comes out of North America, no one swears in it. So it's literally it's okay to ram a roasting fork into someone's head and move it around so you can hear the bone crunching and the brain getting mashed up. But saying fuck is absolutely out of the question. It's fucking hilarious. It really is. The double standards. Incredible. Yeah, I'm really, really enjoying watching it again, I have to say. I really, really am. I've got so much out of it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's funny. It's violent. It's gang related. That's not really something to credit with, is it? But it's unique. There you go. It is unique. It really is, because the way the motorcycle club at the centre of it operates is like a cartel. It is like a mob. You know, they're basically gangsters with cut-offs on bikes instead of, suits and cars. But it's still the same shit. So it is absolutely fucking brilliant. And from where it starts out, you would not believe where it ends up. So much happens. It absolutely brilliantly written by Kurt Sutter, brilliantly directed by Kurt Sutter, brilliantly conceived by Kurt Sutter. And Kurt Sutter is a character in it who spends the entire time of the whole show in prison. But he's called Otto, in case. So if you are watching it, and when Otto comes on, you go, all right, and you can point out to whoever's in the room, and you can go, oh, that's the guy who wrote it. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? I like doing smarmy shit like that, but feel free. I've given you the information. I've put the facts out there. It's up to you what you do with them, as always. So I've my viewing habits over lockdown. And I'm back in the UK. We're back in lockdown again at the moment. It's a bit of a motherfucker, I got to be honest, but it does allow time for watching some great stuff. And there's probably other stuff that I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop this, load it up, and then I'm gonna go. Oh, I forgot to mention so and so. Oh, I forgot to mention so and so. What an idiot! But hey, I forgot. I'm sorry. So this is Movie Bollocks. You have been listening to Movie Bollocks, and Movie Bollocks will be back. I have got guests lined up. It's just a case of getting everybody, organised, and right, that's cool, and but Movie Bollocks is still a thing. It's still coming, and well, you know that because you're listening to this episode. So thanks as always. There'll be more Talking Bollocks podcasts coming very soon. And as always, please do tell people about the podcast, share the podcast, and follow the social media. All of it helps, keeps the lights on at Talking Bollocks Towers, but it also helps me get the high quality guests that I know you love. So to all of you out there, I hope this has been useful. There's plenty of stuff mentioned, and hopefully that will that will provide you with some viewing pleasure over the coming weeks and months. Take care, everybody, and I will speak to you next time.